Good morning.
Hello.
Good early morning to you all. Thank you so much for coming along so early to support Speaker Idol. It means a lot to all of us. Day 3 of Summit begins, and we get to spend it together. How cool is that? Who said pretty awesome? Thank you. Oh, can you come and see me? I got some biscuits for you, by the way. Alrighty, I don't even know. Oh, my phone's there. Please silence your phones. You've seen this slide once or twice before. Please, if you don't already, use some of the free stuff that PASS has to offer. There is a wonderful, wonderful amount of resources available to you, and they're free. There is an election going on. Please vote for PASS board. This is your chance to have a say. And if you don't know the candidates, please go to the PASS website. It's in your, you can vote in your profile. But yeah, you should have got an email. I spoke to one person, they didn't even know there was an election on. After 2 minutes with me, they did. Alrighty. I'm from New Zealand. Speaker Idol format, for those of you who may or may not know, each presenter gets 5 minutes. The judges will present each speaker with constructive feedback. This is why I chose the judges. The judges will then pick a winner. There has to be a winner. And this afternoon, the judges also pick a wild card winner. So someone who may not have won will get a second chance to do it. And then we get to hang out this afternoon. And, you know, if you can, please come back this afternoon and support the finalists. It's going to be an awesome, awesome time. Yeah, there are some images in here. Denny stole them from somewhere. Oh, yeah, by the way, I'm Hamish Watson. Denny hasn't let himself go. The prize. Why is everyone doing it? A speaking session at 2020 Summit in Houston. That's pretty cool, right? Woohoo! And of course, 12 months of panicking. I looked this up. This is a real word. Yeah, someone said to me yesterday, that's not, the German man. Okay, thank you so much. And of course, bragging rights. That's kind of cool, right? So there. Yeah, because I took the K out and then it was squiggly. Yeah, anyway. Alrighty. We have one technical issue.
Is it the man behind the keyboard?
It is the man behind the keyboard is the massive problem today. I'm so sorry. It's been a heck of a day. Yeah, I know, right? Our judges are our wonderful, wonderful judges who I'm going to ask to introduce themselves. And we are starting off with the awesome Kathi Kellenberger.
Thank you. I'm Kathi Kellenberger. I've been speaking about 15 years, I think, and somehow I've managed to sneak into PASS Summit every year since 2013. So I feel like I can be of service to this judge panel today. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Ben Weissman. Hamish, to start with you again. Slightly AV issues, got to work on that. And a little more energy. I know you can do better. I know it's early, but still, we require you to bring your A game. This is PASS Summit. This is not just,
Thank you so much.
Having that said, we're keeping this slightly short. Happy to be here again. Totally looking forward to the last 4 contestants. This will be great. Thank you.
So, good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here so early. Thanks for PASS for providing the coffee. Oh, wait. I'm just glad to be here with Ben this morning. He wakes me up. He's awesome. So I've gone out of my way to not know who the contestants are or anything this year. I didn't want to color my judgment. I know a lot of them are my friends. So even if I've heard anybody talking about it, I've either run away or made them run away. So
There we go. Hi, y'all. I'm Kendra Little. I'm so happy to be here, and please don't take it personally if at the end of this session you see me like sprint out of the room. It's not anything the speaker said. I have a session right after this on the 6th floor. So if we run long and you just see me run away, it's me, not you.
Oh, wow.
Thanks, let's go.
Alrighty, cool, getting on. So here are the people who are gonna present today. First up, we have Slava. I'll let the slide do the talking while Slava comes up and sets up. Slava is SQL consultant, an amateur astronomer, photographer, and DBA. Slava is also a co-organizer of the Baltimore SQL Saturday and Be Big User Group. I don't even know what that is. Baltimore. Oh, I actually don't know what state that is. Is that a state? No, it's not, eh? Where? Maryland? Oh, wow. I didn't even know there was a state. He's been yeah. This is, for those of you that haven't been here before, basically I'm learning the geography of the US as I've been presenting, if you could call it presenting. Slava's been cracking SQL Server since version 7 and is adept Windows Core, Linux, scripting, and automating. There you go, mate. There's a chocolate for you. Alrighty, I'll hand it over to you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Slava Murygin, and I'm here today to talk to you about SQL joins. We'll start from classical concept of inner join. Let's say left circle represents the left table, and the right circle represents the right table. The result of inner join will be only matching records from the left circle and only corresponding records from the right circle. Who didn't know that? I assume maybe everybody are still sleeping. It's first session here. Okay, no more technical stuff in my presentation anymore, okay? I will be talking then about beautiful city of Pittsburgh. Woo! Yeah, I like that. Long time ago, in the year of 2012, there was very first SQL Saturday in Pittsburgh. And that was not only very first SQL Saturday for Pittsburgh, but it was also very first SQL Saturday I volunteered for. Actually, it was Chris Bell. And in other words, technically speaking, sorry for being technical, that was first SQL Saturday I joined SQL community. That was the nicest and best join in my life. SQL join. So there are other cool words you can come up with when you join SQL to other words: SQL family, SQL run, SQL help, SQL hike. What else? Please help me. SQL kayak. SQL karaoke. SQL kills. Oh, I didn't hear that. Okay, but you forgot the main one, SQL server. Yeah. Okay, so, but back to SQL Saturday in Pittsburgh. Last month there was a event again, and I was a speaker at SQL Saturday in Pittsburgh. And as a speaker, I was invited to speaker dinner. And when I came to the venue, I saw there a table of girls and table of boys. So guess what? I immediately decided to join them. So the result of inner join will be only matching girls from the left table and only corresponding boys from the right table, like that. The result of left join will be all girls from the left table and only matching boys from the right table. The right join is completely opposite. All boys from the right table and only matching girls from the left table. However, I didn't like any of those joins because I needed full join. When all girls from the left table and all boys from the right table are together in the full join. So, when we finally joined all together, we had wonderful time and we drank not only beer, but some other heavier stuff until my eyes started crossing each other to produce a cross join. I know, it's ugly slide. Judges will kill me for that. But it's not my fault. Hamish, it's not your fault either. It's cross joint. So that cross joint is when every girl from the left table matched every boy from the right table, and every boy from the right table matches every girl from the left table. Whew. That was hard time, very hard time that evening. So at the end of my presentation, just my advice to you guys. Don't drink so much to produce a cross join. Thank you very much to wonderful Sickle Saturday speakers who helped me with that presentation. And thank you very much for attending that session. And thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk to you. My name is Slava Murygin with Sickle Joints. Thank you.
All right. Oh, it is on. Thank you very much, Slava. That was so smooth. And you did some very big things right, but you also did some great little things right, too. Like when you were saying on the left and on the right at the beginning, I noticed that you were doing the mirroring with your hands so that you were going to the audience's left and the audience's right, which is opposite for you. And it's hard to notice that unless, like me, you always do it wrong. So I noticed that, and I was like, that is very smooth. You really pulled that off. Catherine Williamson advises for that in her speaking sessions, and I'm like, he's doing what Catherine said. The one thing I would think about, and it's not that you did anything wrong. I just want to tell you about my experience. So with the word girls in IT. And you are not the problem. The problem is, in many contexts, I get called a girl, whereas a man gets called an expert. And this is not your fault at all. And you were using the word boys, right? You were doing everything right. But for some people in your audience, that may be distracting because that may be what they think about is, I'm a professional too. I don't want to be a girl, because it's a diminutive. So if there's another, I know you're being playful there, but if there's another word, that might just be better for some of us who've been a little girled out in a professional context. That's just something to think about. I loved your session. I thought it was great. So I just wanted to tell you about my experience with that word, really. That's not like I'm taking points off for that. Thank you.
To qualify.
Well,
It's okay. You can judge.
But sometimes I just share as a judge.
I'm not. My hand was.
Yeah, I want to judge judges. Sorry, you are not judgy as previous years. So try better, please. I need to learn.
She could fix that.
Challenge accepted.
Okay.
So I will say, I will agree with Kendra. I physically reacted when you said girls. But I'm incredibly sensitive to it. And then I saw that you also said boys, and I kind of went, okay. But it was a little distracting. And there are other words that you could use. I mean, I think gals sounds silly, but it's less diminutive than girls. Girls implies I wear pigtails and pink bows. I really loved the use of the graphics at the very beginning to show the join and the jokes that you were making. It was incredibly entertaining. I did think you got a really slow start at the beginning. So probably about 1 minute and 30 seconds in is when you finally engaged me. And so I think if you could like you kind of wandered for a little bit there at the beginning, and then it got really, really engaging. And I don't know if that was your plan to kind of ramp up to this huge cross join at the end, and it gets so busy.
Little bit
But
plan.
I didn't pick up on that until the very end, so that I thought, oh, he's a little slow to start at the very beginning. Absolutely perfect timing. Like I hit the button right at 5. Although then, like after we all stopped our clocks, you were like, I'm Slava, and thank you for. And I was like, oh, technically that's still speaking. And I really loved how you got the crowd involved at several different points during the presentation. So good job.
Thank you.
That was big fun. I have to say, in the beginning, I was like, okay, I don't really see it, because you started with like, oh, this is an inner join, and I got these two. So, okay, this is going to be very, very basic. This could work, but where is he going with this? Then you asked, and I mean, I kind of came up with the point twice, yesterday and the day before, like, don't assume people know something. You assumed everybody knows what an inner join is, and I think that is fair at this conference. And I was like, okay, is this now turning into personal development set? I mean, this is first session on Friday morning, so some of us are tired. I mean, I had to make sure this guy gets to bed, so... And then, like Rie said, you kept everybody involved. Everyone was... So you got an energy not just for you, but also to the group that... I was like, what is happening here? And it was really, really funny. And at the same time, you still explained the technical concept, so it was not just a slideshow of pictures of people we all know. So thank you very much. That was very entertaining and very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. It was just so much fun. I agree with what Rie and Kendra said, but whenever you were saying boys, I thought, okay, it's just a cute way to say it. The thing, everything was so great. I have one thing that I noticed, and what I found over the years is when I ask somebody who doesn't know, usually nobody will raise their hand. They don't want to feel like I'm the only person in the room that doesn't know this. So what I suggest is saying, who knows what this is? And then you'll get a show of hands, or just skip it, because it did take some time where you were waiting for a response that, in a typical session, that's fine, but here every second counts. So fantastic job.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Alrighty, our next presenter is Daniel. Daniel has 20 years of SQL Server experience, 6 years as a PFE at Microsoft, Premier Field Engineer. TLAs can be actually not very inclusive, I find, and so I always ask people, do you know what something means? 3 times MVP, Microsoft Valuable Professional. Glad you got it on your jacket. Daniel is a DBA developer, architect, and consultant. Over to you, mate. Okay.
How do
You can...
I take that one out?
Yeah, mate, yeah.
Right. So today I'm going to be talking about training the next generation of data professionals. And when I think about training, a few different formats come to mind. Formal classroom training where you have students and a teacher, YouTube, Pluralsight. Sometimes we all know that YouTube or Pluralsight may be a bit dry, a bit hard to consume, not engaging. My favorite is just randomly changing things to see what breaks. So my son had done quite a bit of Scratch Junior, which is a program that helps kids learn technology. And he expressed the desire to learn about databases. So I figured, I'm a database professional, I can teach this. So we did some one-on-one training. And this is a real-life example of teaching my son basic database topics. Started out very eager to learn, very excited. Within 5 minutes, he picked up his Switch. Within 7 minutes, he got really relaxed, started playing Mario. And in 10 minutes, totally gone, not even in the room anymore. So I thought to myself, what went wrong? How can we innovate the learning pipeline to be more inclusive or more engaging to capture his attention? And the Pew Research had done a study in 2018 that shows, quote, 97% of teen boys and 83% of teen girls play video games on some type of device. So I thought, how can we use that statistic to innovate training? And I came up with a fully functional RPG game playable through Management Studio and Azure Studio Notebook for playing blackjack, which my son has not played. We don't do gambling with a 9-year-old. So this is a quick demo of the RPG game, which we can't see on the screen. So this is a quick demo of the RPG game, and we'll increase the size a bit. And you'll see the character here. And if we do move down, you'll see the character's moving. We move across the desert, our health drops. And we can even go adventure at different cities and fight different characters and do lots of things. So the cool thing about this is that I had the opportunity to teach a pop-up workshop, a half-day pop-up workshop with a local nonprofit and Microsoft for high school gals and future experts. We started off by having the gals play play the game for 15 minutes. And then we said, hey, we're running stored procedures. We changed the name of the character. To do that, we had to select to find out what table it is, what row it is, and then run an update statement. So we're learning actively as we're playing. And this was really well received by the students, and it excites me. So as a call to action, I'm hoping that my slides inspire you to give back to your community, to innovate how we learn and how we train. And if you have if you have a desire to contribute to the RPG game, it's on Github. So, my name is Daniel Janik. Thank you. I need a chocolate now.
I'll go first. That was really great. As somebody who teaches people, I'm really interested in that. Your slides were fantastic. There was one slide that I think one of the very last ones, I think of the call to action, really tiny font. But otherwise, you did a fantastic job on your slides. Your body language, I thought, was good. I felt like at the beginning, my thought was you were kind of a little bit stiff. And of course, this is like the most nerve-wracking place to be. You're in the hot seat. So, but otherwise, I just think it was fantastic, and I'm definitely going to go out and download that and play that with my grandkids. So, thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you.
So I got a question first. When did you change that slide to say future experts?
It was at least 90 seconds ago.
Okay, that's No, thank you very much. Many first of all, great topic, because you spoke about learning, and that's one of the main things we're all here for, so I like that. Like the use of white space, especially in the first slide where you had that traditional learning, because you spoke about that for a while, so you used a clip art that basically illustrated what you're talking about. Only small point there, I'm a big fan of actually giving credit. You had the credits to where it was from. You could have made that slide. It was hard. It was there, so you're good. And I'm personally sticky about that because I'm all about giving credit to people. And this was just a clip art, so minor remark. Love the fact that you put in that GitHub link and encourage people to actually participate and contribute to that. I've always thought about doing something gamey in SSMS, so you've actually encouraged me to start doing that. So thank you very much. That was very good.
Awesome. Thank you.
So, good morning. Just for the record, when you're talking about teenagers and people under 18, it's okay to say girls. Because they're girls.
They're actually, but it was funny.
But, and I did love, that's where Kendra and I both just looked at each other when we saw your slide. And it's so great use changing, and I did appreciate that. I liked the nice use of the stats that you used on a very attractive slide. Like, that was all that was on there. I had no doubt what information you wanted me to get from that slide. And great use of white space on all your other slides. I do agree with Ben that the clip art that you used, the accreditation at the bottom was so tiny that I was straining to see where it came from. In a regular session, would I have worried about where it came from? Maybe not. But in this particular one, I did find myself looking to see what it was. And I appreciated the call to action at the end. And the, hey, here's how you can get involved, here's where you can find it, here's what you can do. And I absolutely entertained by the timing pictures of your son.
Thank you.
Thanks for talking. I loved the personal story. It really worked, I thought. And the call to action at the end as well. That was really, really good. I think for speaking mechanics, the next little step and just would be literally stepping away from the podium a little. Because you're doing a lot of things right with eye contact, looking around the room, being friendly. So just backing off of the podium a little is, I think, the next step in that.
It's a bit worried about it being squeaky.
And I always am convinced I'm going to fall off the stage, too, so I get it. I start moving, and then I'm, whoa. I would do an animated GIF for your demo for this one, too, which will help you also not have to be there, because it's a short demo, and then you don't have to worry about the switching, because the problem with switching is that almost all projectors, it is, like, jarring, and then you have to deal with it. For what you were showing, I think you could make that a really good animated GIF, and then it's just less work for you, and it just happens.
Yeah,
but thanks for speaking,
that's
or
great
recording.
advice.
Yeah. Yeah,
Thank
the
you.
animated GIFs are a smaller font size is why I do them. So if you don't need sound, but thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks, Daniel.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Cheers, mate. Alrighty, up next, we have Deborah. Deborah has been working as a database professional with SQL Server for almost 20 years. She's 12. I'm actually glad. Yeah, all good. Deborah spends her days helping programmers with all aspects of database design, queries, performance, and deployment. In 2016, she began her blog, Deb, the DBA. And soon after that, she began speaking at SQL Saturdays and user groups. Deborah is a board member of the New England, that's a state, SQL Server user group.
It's a collation of states.
Oh, isn't it?
It's a region.
It doesn't make any sense. Deborah is a member of a collection of 6 states which does a SQL Server user group. It's called Any SQL. I want to go to bed. It was recently named as an IDEA Ace Class of 2020. Well done, mate. Congratulations. Alrighty, which number? Number 3. Yours.
Good morning. Take this update. Imagine, if you will, that we have just executed the statement and our transaction has begun. A lot's going to happen inside this update. When we think about updating data, we tend to think of it as updating one table at a time. But the fact is, we can in fact be modifying multiple tables at once. Sometimes we do this directly in our database design, and sometimes we do this explicitly. So let's take a look at a couple ways we do this. Let's start with the cascading foreign key. When we create a foreign key constraint, we have the option to set actions that occur when the reference column is updated. We can set the referencing foreign key column to null, we can set it to a default, or we can cascade the action, set it to the same as the reference column. So when we update our table, we can see the change here, but we can also see that foreign key column being updated because of the action defined in the foreign key constraint. Here we happen to be cascading the action. Another way we do this is through temporal tables. This one's a little easier to explain. When we update our table, the data as it existed before the change gets written directly into our history table, all part of the same statement. We can also do this explicitly through the output into clause. So when we first learn to write our update statements, we say you can only update one table at a time. This is how we know that's so not the case. So right now, our data exists in two forms: the way it was before the data changed in the internal deleted table, and the way it will exist after the change is committed in the internal inserted table. And we have access to both of those tables directly inside our update statement. We can use this output into clause, take the data, and insert it directly into yet another table, all part of our nice little one statement. Then, of course, there's our friend the trigger. Actually, scratch that. Our frenemy the trigger. That's that special stored procedure that's attached to a table that executes every time we update our data. So it can be as simple or as complex as we want. Our data gets updated, and then all the statements in the trigger are executed. Now here's the thing. It's all essentially considered part of that update statement, or rather, that update statement's transaction. Everything has to finish successfully, otherwise our update fails. And of course, there's the instead of trigger, where we think that update is running, but instead, we're just doing the actions in the trigger. And if you weren't paying attention and you didn't know it was there, you may be in for a bit of a surprise when you look at your data later. Now, at this point, you may be wondering, Deborah, why are you telling me all of this? Some of you may be thinking, this is kind of beginner level, it's easy, it's simple. But I would argue that's the point. I think we often take the simplicity of an update statement for granted because there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. When we modify tables, SQL Server has to do a lot of work. It may need to update indexes. There's potential statistic updates. It has constraint validations, not just foreign keys. Perhaps row versioning depending on your isolation level. And this has to be done for all of the tables being modified. And then who here still thinks we're talking about one record? We deal with sets, so we could be dealing with 10, 100, 1,000, 1 million records. That's a lot of work that we're asking SQL Server to do in a very small amount of time. And then there's what happens after the transaction finishes. SQL Server has different functionality, which reads from transaction logs, tries to identify those data changes, and has to apply them somewhere. Functionality such as change data capture, replication, availability groups. So it's no longer about updating that one table or how it may be related to others through foreign keys. It's about how data moves throughout your entire database, and in fact, throughout your entire database ecosystem. How we modify data gets to the heart of how we need to build our databases, not just for what we have now, but for how it may be consumed down the road, how we need to build that database, and how much data we have to work with. Because in the end, we don't want to have to think about all of that stuff. We want our databases to be designed to handle all of this, so we can focus on that simple little update statement, like the one that started when I began talking, that's still running now. Think of all the different topics we've touched upon in that time. As I said, a lot was going to happen inside this update. Our statement has finished, our transaction is committed, and I want to say thank you so much for coming. Hope you're having a great summit. All right. Oh, thank you.
No worries.
This
Thank you, Deborah. That was cool. That was an interesting ride. I didn't know where we were going. Really good interaction with the audience looking around. You have really great speaker mechanics, your tone of voice. Like I was right there with you. It just felt like you were having a conversation with us. You also clearly know this deck cold. Like, it was like the slides were just following you because they knew, basically. The one thing I'm not sure about is I think you did a great job with the plans and zooming in on them. But if I didn't know what an execution plan was, I think I would have been like, what is that? And then had to catch up a little.
Okay.
You were really good on timing. You're at 5 minutes and 8 seconds. So I don't want to be like, if you add something, you are going to have to take something out. But just really brief, I would say, on that one. And this is a total nerdism. So cascading deletes actually use serializable behind the scenes, and it's for safety. Now, there's like one blog post from like 2001 by Connor Cunningham about this. It's not like, but you actually had a slide on isolation levels, so I was like, oh, I'll actually bring that up, because you can't, essentially the pain is cascading deletes can cause a lot of locking and blocking. Not that you shouldn't talk about them, but if you're bringing up isolation levels, you might want to put serializable on the list, right? Like in that section. That's the only reason I'm bringing that up.
Okay.
Just a little nerdy thing for everyone else.
I knew I was going to hit one of those.
Connor's at Speaker Idol, and he didn't even know it. So you started very, very strong. Just came out of the gate immediately, and we're into the session. There was no ramp up or anything like that. Amazing pace. You have the most soothing speaker voice I've ever heard. It was very comfortable. I loved your fonts. Everything was readable. I could read every slide. Great contrast, great everything. Like Kendra said, your pacing was perfect. I started my clock a couple of seconds late, so you were perfect on time. So I loved the use of a few of your graphics, the behind-the-scenes curtain, the iceberg. I was a little disappointed that you put the Red Sox in that database.
I'm not putting I can't put the Yankees in there. I'm a Southern girl. No Southern girl in her right mind could ever root for the Yankees.
Right,
so.
but then you also blended DC and Marvel stuff. I'm a little concerned about you need to clean up your data. That's all I'm saying.
There is a table that says Marvel, it says Comic Universe in there, so I do have a thing so we can separate the two if needed.
Is it like a flag?
There's a table. I'll show you the diagram later.
Okay. So thank you very much. Fantastic job.
So first of all, Kendra, nobody likes show-offs that memorize every single blog post out there. Seriously. Second of all, you're good, because I don't care about sports. You had Harry Potter, so that's extra points, so that offsets the Red Sox criticism by a lot. Having that said, first of all, I would like to be able to do that. You barely looked at your slides at all. You did perfect on time, by the way. It was 5:03, so you were spot on. Sorry, Kendra. I mean, the data conference, we gotta be accurate here. I particularly like the thing where I said one table at a time, so you were really pointing out that one thing. Perfect. The execution plans and all those screenshots, like Kendra said, they were hard to read. And again, if people do not know what it is, it may be, it just not maybe, it will be hard to follow. Then again, this is kind of it's not a 100 level topic, so you might assume people have a certain knowledge about still readability. Otherwise, great slides. I liked what you did to freshen them up, because, I mean, all that is kind of a drier technical topic. You take that Batman stuff. And also the fonts you were using for that was very refreshing. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I work with Kendra, and I'm a little scared of her now. I'm a little scared.
Talk to you about one of your blog posts from 2003.
Okay, yeah, I bet she does.
Someone else has written about it.
Wow. Well, yes, even that you knew the year, that's... So Deborah, that was just so wonderful, and I know we see each other at SQL Saturdays and stuff. I definitely have to have to watch one of your sessions because it was just really great. I'm the stickler for the slides. Your slides were fantastic. It has been a good point about maybe some people don't know what an execution plan was. You've got 5 minutes. It's kind of hard to go into detail, but I just love the animation that you did. It's such a great topic too, because even people when they're experienced, they're trying to help troubleshoot a problem. There's so many things that could be causing a performance issue or something not to go right. So just overall fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Did you grab your chocolate? Cool. Right up next is Lonny. Right, Lonny, I'm so glad the state's in here. Lonny lives and works in Madison, Wisconsin area.
That's not a state. That's a state.
Oh. It's too early.
Madison's mistake, by the way.
Okay. For the last 20 years, Lonny has worked with electronic medical record databases. For the last several years, his work has focused on best practices and performance investigations for systems across the United States. Outside of work, Lonny spends time with his wife and 2 daughters exploring nature locally and also traveling. All good. All right. Oh, here's a chocolate for you.
Oh, thank you.
Which number are we? Do you know?
All right, my name is Lonny Niederstadt, and we're here for 3 CheckDB surprises in 3 minutes with 2 minutes for questions. And if you all don't have questions, I've got questions for you. So let's go. Now, what's the story? One of the things I learned this week is that in my presentations, I need to tell a story. I need to let you know what you can get out of this and what I'm getting out of it. In this case, I have a 3.5 terabyte database that's largely column store indexes, and I have an integrity problem. I don't know if anybody's had an integrity problem in a column store database yet. If you're looking forward to it, or if you have, this will be a fun couple of minutes for you. What's the big hang up with CheckDB? If you have a big database, it can take a long time. So in order to protect my column store databases, I want CheckDB to run as fast as it possibly can. In fact, I want it to run faster than it possibly can. Now, we're not going to be able to do that in 5 minutes, but this is a cliffhanger, and my Twitter handle is @SQLhandle, and if you are interested in the continuation of this cliffhanger, you can follow me on Twitter to see what happens. But where will we go right now? Let me explain the database context. I'm working on a 96 vCPU VM. It has 930 gig of VRAM. It is the only VMware VM on the host. I don't have any competition from any other VMs. It's a 3,500 gig database. The data at rest footprint, most of it is clustered column store indexes. There's some row store in there. It is running SQL Server 2019, and max server memory is set to 690 gig. What is ready for us to speed up CheckDB out of the box? There's a reference here to a KB article. Goes all the way back to SQL Server 2008 SP2. Trace flags 2549 and 2562. You can follow that for some fun reading. After SQL Server 2016, we have an important blog post from Microsoft that gives further context in light of improvements that were made in SQL Server 2016. Those improvements mean that trace flag 2549 typically adds no performance benefit to DBCC CheckDB. But that still leaves us with trace flag 2562. Now, in the testing that I'm going to look at here, I'm specifically doing DBCC CheckDB with physical only for a couple of reasons. In these databases, I generally do with physical only on a nightly basis, and on a weekly or monthly basis, do a full CheckDB with logical integrity checks. And that's for the sake of time, in order to give me enough time for all of the actual data change, and analytics workloads that are running. So I said there'd be 3 surprises. Here's the first surprise. The top graph is my DBCC CheckDB with physical only, running at max top 96 without any special trace flags. And the bottom one is with, look at that, it's mislabeled. It's trace flag 2562, right? Same setup, same database. And my surprise is, hey, it's not any faster. In fact, it took a couple minutes longer. Now you'll notice the shaded areas there. I shaded the areas in the bottom. Hopefully the shades are visible to everybody, but I just wanted to kind of spotlight from a system perspective what are different profile areas of this workload. So that's my first and kind of driving surprise is that trace flag 2562 doesn't make my CheckDB any faster. My next surprise is that there's a very obvious difference in the use of parallel workers with trace flag 2562. You can see that without the trace flag, the number of parallel workers engaged in the instance rises and falls. When it rises to a constant 192. That's because with CheckDB and CheckTable, unless you're running at DOP1, you're always going to get twice the number of workers as you've asked for in your degree of parallelism. You can kind of think of it as a parallel plan with 2 zones. That's not quite true in the case of CheckDB, but in terms of the numbers, it is. But the reason this is surprising is, if I'm using 192 parallel workers for most of the workload, why is my CPU utilization in both cases so highly variable? Why are there so many dips and falls when I'm running without the trace flag? And why does it take so long for me to start using a lot of CPU when I do use the trace flag? This is why. Now, when you run DBCC CheckDB, of course, the very first checks that it does, when it checks allocation, when it checks catalogs, those will always run at degree of parallelism 1. There's nothing you can do about that. But the surprising thing is that even as you increase the degree of parallelism, there's a significant portion of the work that is still effectively done at degree of parallelism 1. And this is a heat map in Excel with perfmon data from every single one of my 96 vCPUs. It's a green to red heat map. And you'll see that even though my one hot CPU travels a little bit, for that entire first period, there is only one hot CPU. If I want my CheckDB to run as fast as possible, I have to address that. Somehow, in order to keep this scaling, I have to break out of the scalability limit of using only one CPU. My third surprise, without the trace flag, I have a considerable amount of hills and valleys, and after each burst of bytes consumed by DBCC CheckDB, I have a period of high CPU. And in fact, if you'll look in the left half of the graph, right after 9 p.m. or after 2100, there's a long burst of 100% CPU utilization. Now this makes sense in the context of what trace flag 2562 does. Trace flag 2562 compresses all of the tables and all of the indexes that it's going to be checking into a single batch for the CheckDB engine. Without trace flag 2562, those are grouped into groups of approximately 500 for it to consume. And so these peaks and valleys that you see without the trace flag are essentially batches of processing being done by the CheckDB engine. But my single batch of processing with the trace flag has a huge dip in CPU throughout the entire middle section. It's a huge valley. That is the other thing that I'm going to have to address that if I want to improve the performance, shorten the runtime of my CheckDB. Right now, I want to ask if there are any questions from the audience. I will start with some questions. Who here is running DBCC CheckDB with physical only at least once a week? Who here is running it nightly? All right, far fewer people running it nightly than once a week. Who here has made a decision to not run it nightly strictly because of I/O or runtime considerations? And that's why I want to go through this entire exercise. It'll take longer than 5 minutes. It'll take longer than 10 minutes to get to the end. But we want to make CheckDB run even faster than CheckDB. Thank you.
All right. Really great job. I loved your stage presence and your, just how you talk to the audience and everything, your body language, really, really fantastic. I like that this is a topic that is really important to everybody, DBAs out there. I just edit articles now. I don't have to run DBCC anymore, so I'm lucky. I'll leave it up to Kendra, if there's any technical issues. But anyway, I'll call Rie. You'll call Rie. I think, and maybe I just missed it because we're trying to pay attention to so many different things, but on some of the graphs, at first, I wasn't sure exactly what I was looking at, but then later I thought, oh, wait a minute, maybe the red is CPU and then is the blue I/O, or is that's what's going on? So I didn't get that till kind of in the middle of that, but otherwise, a really, really great job.
Thank you very much. You were very excited on stage, but in a very good way. Not in a nervous way, but you're passionate about what you're talking about. You were way off on timing.
Uh-oh.
You were at 8 minutes before you started questions.
See, and I had my smartphone here. I was supposed to start the timer before I started talking, and I didn't.
So, not the first one.
Yeah.
Also, something that my dear friend Kendra pointed out yesterday: if you're turning towards the projectors, you're moving away from the mic, so we can't hear you as good anymore, or not at all anymore. Not as huge of an issue in this room because it's not that big. If you would be in a big room, people in the back couldn't hear what you're saying. Also, what has already been said. When I was looking at those graphs, I'm not a DBA, so I was like, what is this we're looking at? So I really like the energy, but this may also just be because I'm not a DBA. I was like, okay, I did not really know what is going on here, so that might be something to consider as well. Other than that, It was enjoyable to listen to you, but it was hard to actually follow along for me, not being aware of what you're actually talking about. Thank you.
So, good morning. Thank you for presenting for us today. I too had an issue with the graphs, and I am a DBA. Well, until now, right? I mean, I've changed my job now. But that they weren't labeled, that you didn't do a great job of telling me what I was looking at. So I spent a lot of time when you first put the slide up there trying to figure out what I was looking at for all of them. And then one of them you said was mislabeled. You made a lot of assumptions about what people know and understand in the room. So I'm not sure what level presentation this was going to be. You going to almost 9 minutes is a big flag, but it is very clear to me that you're really interested in this topic, and your enthusiasm was appreciated.
Hey, Lonny.
Hello.
That was fun to watch because I follow you on Twitter and I watch some of your investigation stuff sometime. So the graphs weren't confusing to me because I've been preparing for this without realizing it. I didn't know I was preparing, right? I was just following him on Twitter.
Maybe that was his plan.
So I think it's a great session. The way I'd switch up the session for you, because to me, you clearly got more excited when you got to the graphs. And I was like, oh, when he posts this stuff on Twitter, that's exactly. He's like,
graphs.
oh, this is so interesting. So I would just go with that. I would just say, very briefly, it's a big server. It's got a lot of cores and a lot of memory. Let's look at, I had a theory. Here's what my theory was. And then here's how I investigated and how it turns out. Maybe adding in a little color about those graphs. But that might help just make it about the investigation process, and maybe that kind of makes it more accessible to beginners as well. But that's the direction I'd go with it, because that, I think, is where your passion really lies. It just looked that way. But it was really fun to see. Thanks so much, Lonny.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Judges be gone. Righty, thank you. You can do that now. You would need.
We have to do it now.
We have to pick the wild card.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I had one job. One job. Yeah. I am a very collaborative person. The reason being is because I can't do much. That's all good. Alrighty, 8:58. We, what should we do? Who, sorry?
You're apparently going to throw chocolate at us.
Yeah, I am, yeah. Is there 50? I thought it was 52. Oh, that's weeks, right?
No.
It's a couple of territories, I believe. Does someone have a question, or you just wanted me to throw? Oh, okay, no worries. It's, my aim will be a bit off today, so I'll just walk, having, if any of you come to Sequel Saturday South Island, which is in, believe it or not, the South Island, oh, funny story, I'm so glad you brought it up. So I actually, it was the last summit. It was a bloke, his name was Adam, but I don't really know much more about him. But his name stuck in my head because we were talking about, New Zealand versus Canada. Because if you've seen my lanyard thingy, I have Canada upside down because New Zealand's kind of like the Canada of the South Pacific. We're kind of nice. I'll leave it at that. So I was talking to Adam about the differences between New Zealand and Canada because we're both part of a thing called the Commonwealth. That was where the British went out, they sailed a ship and renamed some countries wrong. If you know New Zealand, it's named after a place in the Netherlands, Zeeland. Cheers. Which is spelt with two E's. Two E's, Z-E-E-L-A-N-D, whereas New Zealand is Z-E-A-L-A-N-D. Colonialism. So anyway, we're talking about the differences and also the similarities between New Zealand and Canada. And I said, yeah, we got these whole things called provinces. They're like, the state things. I was wrong. We haven't had provinces since about the 1890s. But here's the deal. The worst thing is, I found this out about 3 months later. Like, we both even had phones, but I was vehement. No, we got provinces. Like, oh, that's really cool. So, yeah, I actually did think I knew enough of the states here in the United States. Obviously not. Oh, thank you.
The whole New England thing.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen anywhere else, really.
Do you know what?
They have their own football team, the New England.
Patriots. See, I know sports. I was real worried at being early that we wouldn't be having a conversation. This is great. Now, I don't know how this will go. I'm definitely not going to look at Wendy because I'll either get a nod or give the award back. So when I saw New England, I was like, oh.
Chocolate.
Oh, yeah, true. Oh, yeah. I'll give you a whole bunch. There you go, mate. When I saw the word New England, I was like, oh, yeah, that's like the Family Guy program. Now, I know the Griffins live in Rhode Island, but I knew that was near New England. Oh, it's okay. Well, that obviously makes sense. So yeah. Alrighty, last day at Summit, day number 3, and unfortunately the final day. You know, some of us are leaving today, going back to our home, to our families, our friends, whatever. I hope you all have had a wonderful Summit. I have. It's been one heck of a week. I look back at what past Hamish has done to me. I don't know if we're still friends. Possibly, yeah. It's been a fantastic week. I've got to hang out with, you know, Sequel Family, as one of the hashtags is, and it's been awesome. So, is anyone here for the first time in terms of, you know, we've run 3 Speaker Idol sessions, and, you know, this is number 3. So is anyone here, like, that didn't go to 1 and 2? Oh, wow. Wow, oh, I can't throw that much. And also, I was going to throw chocolates at you, but thank you so much for coming along. That's really, really awesome because it's really, really early. My friends, the judges. So if you do see me, be honest and tell me, I'll give you chocolate. All righty.
I see you.
Hello. Oh, you have some there.
Shall we do
Yes,
some announcing?
please.
All right. We're going to take pictures after.
Yeah.
Or right now. Can our contestants come up right now for a lovely photo?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for the reminder, Ben. You need to take the photo now. That is a great spot to stand.
And make them all get in line.
Awesome. Okay. Do you feel like paparazzi is around you right now? You should. All right. Okay. Y'all were great. We really enjoyed today. The runner-up, so we are going to announce the runner-up for today, the winner for the day. We'll recap who our wild card entrants are, and then we'll announce the... Anyway, you'll hear. So the runner-up for today is... Slava. You did excellent. And the winner for today is Deborah Melkin. All right, so that we had to now look back at all our wild card entrants, who was Dave Bland from Wednesday. Wednesday seems so long ago, but we had notes so we could remember. Dave Bland, Hilka Peak from yesterday, which also seems like a really long time ago. And then Slava from today. And we, after much determination, figured out that the wild card entrance is Hilka Peak. Yeah. So that means that this afternoon, everyone can come back and see our amazing finalists together, which will be William Asaf, Adrian Mee, Hilka Peak, and Deborah Melkin, as they compete for the world's finest prize, a spot at next year's Past Summit. Thanks, y'all. This was excellent.